Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain you how to work with Illustrator brushes so we can improve the presentation of our artwork, okay? So we've worked with a pen tool, right? We use this to create simple shapes or just simple lines to trace our vectors. What are the properties of the things or the objects that I create with the pen tool? Well, first of all, we have to remember that what we are creating here are paths, right? Let me zoom in. We are creating paths, and if I close that path, then it converts into a shape. So if I go to my properties panel and I created a shape with a pen tool, I can change its fill and I can also change its stroke, right? And if I only want a single path, I don't want a closed shape, then I only have the stroke options there, okay? So that's pretty much what I can create with the pen tool. What about the stroke options? If I click here, for example, in this line to open it, I can access to that menu by the properties panel, or I can open the exact same options using the stroke panel that I can active from the window menu. So if I click in stroke, I can change the weight here in this part. I can make it bigger. I can also change how it ends, and those are the caps. I want rounded caps or squared caps, okay? And if I have a shape like this one with pointy ends, I can also change how it ends. You know, the caps, I can make them rounded. These are the corners. And also I can convert it to a dash line, right? Depending on the size of the dash, it can either be like a polka dot line or a complete dashed line. So those are like the options that I have available there for my stroke. Then I have another tool that we've also worked with. It's the Bluff brush tool. The difference between these two is that when using the pen tool, you have to close this to create a shape. But with the Bluff brush tool, you do not have to. So if I want to create a triangle, then I can create one and automatically adds a stroke and a fill. I don't have to create it. If I want to create, for example, a donut or to paint a donut, something like that, then it puts a path also in this part. Okay, so that's the difference between these two. If I still have the same color active and I open my Bluff brush tool and I start painting it, then it adds to the same shape. Okay, I can complete the shape. If I say, you know what, I want to get rid of that, then with the same color active, I just paint and it will complete the shape. That's different in when I create a shape like this. If I want to create a gap in this part to create a hole on the triangle, then I would have to put it with the pen tool and then using the options from the Pathfinder so I can get rid of that part, okay? So these are different tools. And finally, we have the paintbrush tool. Remember that Illustrator uses or is used to create many vector art or artwork. So sometimes we don't want to have like simple lines that are created with the pen tool. I want something more organic, something more natural. Like if I drew it with a pencil or a watercolor brush or something. So for that we have the paintbrush tool. So I can create different organic shapes with this, okay? The good news is that the properties of the brush can also be applied to the Bluff brush tool or the shapes or lines that I create with the pen. So that's a bonus. What are those properties that I can change to my brush? For that, I'm going to open my brush panel. So I'll go to Window and click where it says Brushes. And I have these options right here. Let me select the thing that I just painted. And for example, I can change its width. This is like if I draw with those calligraphic pens, for example. The ends of my stroke are different. And then I have this one. It says it's charcoal. The effect is charcoal. And then, for example, if I want to create a frame for a work, I did it with the pen tool, and then I click in here. Do you see how the borders change? Okay, so you have many options in this part. These are like decorative elements. And what about the last one? This is like denim, okay? And this one is like watercolor. So if I duplicate this, for example, one more time, and then I change the properties of the stroke to a more intense green, the two of them can combine. So I can create a different like watercolor effect, okay? So these are the options of brushes. But if we're thinking that these are the only options, then we are wrong. Why? Because Illustrator has these hidden brushes available there for us. How can we open those? We can click in this three-line menu and open all the library brushes that Illustrator has. You can also access to them from here, okay? So click in this part, click where it says Open Brush Library, and let's start with arrows. I'll pick the arrow special. This other panel appears, and as you can see, it has many options to work with arrows, okay? So this also depends on your style, okay? And after the arrows, we have the artistic. These are the ones that I use the most. Let's try, for example, the paintbrush. The paintbrush brushes. So we have all these strokes, and if I click in there, do you see how the ends of my brush changes? And the good news is that I can combine these brushes like I did with this one. So imagine if you draw, for example, a face or landscape or water, like organic shapes. The effect that you get with this type of brushes is completely different, okay? And then we go again to, for example, borders. Let's try geometric. So we have all these geometric borders available. If I click in the first one, let's see how those borders change. Okay, we have many options. If I open or active the direct selection tool, I can change the direction of my path, and that brush will follow that direction, okay? Okay, what about if I like this option, this brush, but I don't like the colors? To change that, I have to go to the Properties panel, and as you can see, I have the brush option active. You can also access the libraries from here or from this other option, okay? So you can change it from there, but what I want to focus in is in this icon, and it says Options of the selected object. Now the stroke options appear, and I can change the size of the stroke. I can also change the spacing of the stroke. Let me click in preview there. I can also change the spacing of the stroke, and I have the colorization method. So if I click here in tint, I have this green color active in my color picker of the stroke, of course. And as you can see, depending on the properties or the style of each brush is the color that I will get. And we also have Tints and Shades, which is more similar to the original one. And I also have the Hue Shift. So you have to experiment with these three so that you find the perfect color according to what you picked in here. And then click OK. If you don't like the green, then you can go to your color picker or the color panel or the color guide, all the panels that we've saw in the last lesson to change the color of your stroke, okay? So these are the brushes that Illustrator has. Now the good thing about the brushes is that they can be applied to the objects that I create with the pen tool, or the ones that I directly create with the paintbrush to create more organic shapes, okay? So experiment with this, open all the brushes library that Illustrator has. Even if, for example, if you have a Wacom tablet, these brushes detect the pressure from the pen, so the endings and the results from the drawings are completely different. Okay, so take your time, practice this, and find all the options that Illustrator has for brushes. Okay.